All right, everybody, welcome to the World of Warcraft Battle for Azeroth panel. Now, I have to admit some bias. I've been here all night and I've been introducing a lot of panelists, but for those of you who don't know, I'm a pretty avid fan of World of Warcraft, particularly the Darkmoon Faire. But the people up here on this stage are some of the most fantastic podcasters to ever be on the air, so we are blessed with their presence. This is going to be a fantastic panel. I got to build you guys up, and I hope you guys all enjoy, and I'll turn it over to Pat Crane.
Hi, everybody, and welcome. Now, for tonight's panel, I'm guessing that we won't have enough time to hit everything about World of Warcraft. It's a big, big game. Imagine that. It's a huge game. And especially for Battle for Azeroth, it is... there's a lot going on, right? I mean, and I know that most of us are PvE specialists in a way. We're all playing PvE, and, you know, Tally's streaming everything, so I don't even know. But let's talk about the panel real quick. First of all, to my right, your left, we have Shoe Boots. Shoe Boots is from Merely a Setback and from Azeroth Public Radio. My name is Pat Crane from Convert to Raid. We have Raven from Girls Gone WoW. And of course, Hammers Up for Towley. And then we have Jason Lucas from the Starting Zone as well. So I have some notes, and I am sure that we'll get your questions as well towards the end. But I do kind of want to talk to you guys about what you thought was... Let's not talk about the critical stuff quite yet. Let's build into that. And let's talk about the best stuff of Battle for Azeroth and what you guys really enjoyed, what you thought really shone in this one. I'll start with Shoe Boots.
Okay, well... for Merely a Setback, we're a lore podcast, and if any of you listened to it, I think you know where we're going to go with this. This might be controversial, I don't know, but I love the story. I think that the storytelling of Battle for Azeroth is some of the best storytelling I've ever seen in a video game. I know that a lot of people have been very angry about the story, but I truly think that is a testament to the story. I think that... you know, I'm an Alliance player, so I am on the outside looking in. But I do think that, you know, for the Horde players, I really think that they're touching on some feelings that a lot of us have in various aspects of our life about things that we believe in that have been challenged. And I think that that's really what the Sylvanas storyline has done. And I think it was really brave. And even if some things worked and some things didn't, I just think that it was... I can't imagine them topping it, frankly.
Okay. Raven?
Yeah, I mean, I think the story is probably the biggest thing for us as well. We're also Alliance players.
Wait. How many people on this panel play Horde for their main tunes? Look at the Alliance bias! There is an Alliance bias on the panel, so that's lovely. All right. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
Jaina's story, really enjoyed Jaina's story. That was a particular high point, I think. Seeing her coming back into her family life and all of the thing with her mother and all of that kind of stuff. I do think the Horde story was also quite strong, and actually having the choices that you could make. The idea that you could make a choice in game and it would have some kind of repercussions, like whether you went with Sylvanas or didn't go with Sylvanas. That's that was really important. So yeah, story is also a high point for us, I think. Raiding also pretty good this expansion.
All right, Towley.
I mean, I'm gonna mirror what people have been saying. Just I love the story. I like it a lot. It's just so many different angles to look at. There's you got Anduin, Sylvanas, you got this Otalia story going on, you got Ashara, N'Zoth, the old gods. It's before, in the old stories of WoW and the previous expansions, they kind of just focused on a single, it's very linear, it goes one way. And then BFA just has gone in so many different directions. And then the raids. The raids have been so amazing this expansion. Yeah, have anyone done BOD?
Yeah.
Any of the Zarlorers out there?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There you go. that was one of my favorite raids. Well, it's my favorite raid so far this expansion. I just love the work they've done, and the art and the music in this expansion is out of this world.
Yeah, just kind of the overall feel of everything. And yeah right. Jason?
I think the thing that's really shined this expansion is the growth of the Mythic Plus system. This is the first expansion that was developed with Mythic Plus in mind. This expansion was developed alongside the existence of Mythic Plus, and I think it really shows in the way the system has evolved, some of the chances that they've taken, some of the things that have worked or not worked, but Mythic Plus is probably the most fun I have in the game on a week-to-week basis because it's a different puzzle to solve each time. And it's great to have that camaraderie. I have a really tight clique of people I do Mythic Plus with, and it's a high bar every week. And shooting for Keystone Master every season and learning the ins and outs, the little tricks in each dungeon. To me, that's the kind of small group gameplay that brings me back to like Burning Crusade Heroics, and I think they really push that far with BFA.
Cool. Now we also saw a lot of new things with BFA this expansion, right? We saw islands, we saw Azerite, we saw the war campaigns, all the new types of world quests that were out there. We saw war fronts and war mode really being a thing, and how many people out there right now are always on war mode? War mode on. All right. So out of all of those things and all of the new gameplay and systems out there, is there something that really stood out to you that was innovative or something that particularly struck you and you're like, even if it needs some work, were there some game styles that you saw appear in BFA that you really enjoyed?
I mean, I guess that's a tough question because I think the elephant in the room is that the systems have probably been, in general, the weaker point of the expansion in most people's opinion. But I have, for me personally, and I'm a PvEer, I had to have that hippo when it came out, and I got that hippo. I went and I spent a lot of time. I've never enjoyed Arena, and I enjoy watching Arena, but I'm terrible at it, so I've never done it. But I really got into Rated Battlegrounds this expansion, and it might be one of the most fun things you can do in World of Warcraft. And so, I attribute that partially to War Mode, but partially to the new honor system. Okay. I think that the reward system that they've set up was enough to get a staunch PvEer like me to get into it and play. And once I got what I wanted, I didn't stop. Right. I was having fun. So,
gotcha. Now, Tally, as far as because I know you're streaming everything, so I mean, you probably have way more game time involved with all of this stuff. What are you finding that with all of the new things, is there something that you're sticking with more than others, or where do you find your time being spent on stream?
Oh, you're gonna hate me for this. Azerite armor.
Yeah.
I know. Hear me out. Hold on. I spend most of my time world questing, PvPing, war mode, Mythic Plus, Mythic raiding a lot. But for the systems that I like the Azerite armor. It didn't work out too well. I think with a couple of more months in alpha and a beta, it could have been maybe better. It's just I like the fact that Blizzard, took a chance on something like that. I like it when they come up with ideas or something that we kind of never seen before. Well, we kind of saw a little bit of it in the past, but they swung and it seems like they missed, and then they kind of caught up later on and made it a little bit better. So I stuck with Azerite armor being something that I liked, and especially as a prop paladin, I liked the way it synergized with my spec. Unfortunately, didn't synergize with others, but that's what I would go.
And Jason, as far as it goes for you, is there something that you're finding that, especially with some of the new things like islands and warfronts and stuff like that? I know that you're a Mythic raider as well, and so it's kind of one of those things of, do you find that you're using those things, or is it more of a burden to bear?
There's actually one thing about the Warfront system that I love.
Yeah.
It's not the scenario, but revamping Arathi Highlands and Darkshore, giving them a fresh coat of paint. Those are two very important zones to longtime WoW players. I've been playing my main character, Night Elf Warrior, for 15 years. She's going to turn 15 this month. And Darkshore is a very special zone to me. And having Darkshore be relevant and vital and looking good and being a place to go and get relevant rewards, I love that, and I love that they did it for Arathi. So if there's something to learn from the Warfronts experiment, I hope it's this idea. And we're seeing it a bit in 8.3 in a bit of a different fashion with the corrupted versions of Old Doom and the Veil. I love the idea, like World of Warcraft, the world is the main character. It always has been. The world is very rich, it's very immersive, and we have strong emotional ties to these places where we play the game, the spaces inside of it. So whenever they can put a fresh and relevant spin on an existing place that I already have an attachment to, that really stands out to me. And I think that's the diamond in the rough of the Warfront system.
Very interesting point. And actually, maybe this is a question for you, Raven. Where are you finding that because of all that stuff that you're actually going out into the world more? Do you find the world quests to be interesting, compelling, or otherwise, making you go out and really want to explore more? I don't even know.
Yeah, I think that's certainly true. There's lots of stuff to do. I mean, if you're a more casual player, that's maybe my role today, is to present the more casual player viewpoint. There's lots of stuff that you can do. So if you've got 15 minutes, you can go and do some islands. If you want to do that, there's plenty of world quests all across many, many different zones. You can do a Warfront. You can go and do the quests in the Warfront areas. There's just a lot of stuff you can be doing, which can never be a bad thing.
Well, to a point. I mean, I would think that especially for more casual players, that one of the problems that BFA has is that things can get a little confusing.
Yeah, but it also means you can play the game however you want to play the game.
Sure.
So if you like doing islands, you can do islands. If that sort of three-person content is good for you, that's fine. If you just want to play on your own, then there's world quests, and there's lots and lots of world quests. If you want to do group content, we've got lots of different ways of doing group content. So there's lots of flexibility as long as you're not going to get too kind of focused on having to do everything.
And just to add to that, I think a fair assessment of Battle for Azeroth systems is that as a whole, they do come across as somewhat convoluted, especially to a new player, but there's some great systems in there that I would like to see Blizzard use and take forward in a more simplified way. One thing that didn't get mentioned that I think deserves mention is Mechagon.
Yeah.
I have had so much fun in Mechagon. I actually got married the week that it came out, so I didn't actually get to experience it for a while, which I'm happy about because I'm married.
Right, give him
I'm not going to die alone.
Come on.
But actually, right now, I've almost completed my meta achievement right now. The last few weeks, pretty much outside of Raid, the only thing that I've done in WoW is go to Mechagon and just sit there and wait for it to rain so I can hunt that leech beast. And I know that Mechagon is really inspired by the Timeless Isle in Mists of Pandaria, but this whole idea of at least once an expansion giving us this crazy place with a ton of stuff for us to do, that if you don't want to do it, you don't really have to. And I think that's what's the shining, because I think a fair criticism of Battle for Azeroth is so much of this stuff is required, right? But Mechagon's not. You can just do it because you want to. And I think that's what makes me want to do it.
So now, out of all these systems, are there things that you would like to see Blizzard take forward, I guess, and try to iterate on or make better, or what kind of systems do you want to see stick around, make sure to stick around for 9.0? And Shubitz, do you have anything like that where it's like, yes, I absolutely want another Mechagon, or I want something?
Well, I mean, Mechagon, absolutely, but the one that came to mind when you said that was, interestingly enough, Islands. I think that Islands is an amazing idea that just wasn't quite right executed. And I really enjoy logging in if I have 20 minutes to play and going and doing an island. Right? So I think that the key to Islands is the way that it's connected to loot. I think that they're not quite there, and I wish I had a good idea to offer, but I don't right now. But I do love the idea of being able to jump in, because dungeons used to be this thing, right? But now dungeons are more complicated. But I do think there's room in World of Warcraft to have a way to kill 20 minutes. And Islands is a good way to do that.
And Tally, as a streamer, is there something that that you see from these different features or whatever that you'd want to take forward on your, especially on your stream or involving more streamers, more viewers, or all that kind of stuff?
Islands, for sure. They're short, they're fun, they're not time consuming at all, and I want to see them keep the Mythic plus seasonal affixes, because I think those are cool. I like how they theme around the current tier of rating that we're in, and I think that they should definitely keep that going.
Well, and that made MDI more interesting, and that made just kind of hanging out with your friends a little bit different and fun. So yeah, I totally agree with you on that.
Go reaping.
So anything else as far as like the features, or I don't know, we could even talk about professions if you want to, although I can kind of consider them optional, right? Other than enchanting, so you can disenchant some gear.
I just want something analogous to artifact power to continue. I think we need a better way that it hooks into how your character actually attains power. But ever since 7.0 and Legion and the beginning of, there's always a way to log in and make gradual progress on your character every day, that's my favorite thing in the game generally to do by myself.
Sure.
So whether they call it artifact power or they call it something else, I want an analogous system where I can make gradual character power progression basically every day if I want to. Even if it's very gradual, I just want to be able to do it.
And the other system that is the elephant in the room is gear, and we should probably talk about that a little bit. We saw Azerite gear make its way in. Towley really likes it. However, there was a lot of, I think it was like midstream trying to figure out, like the Blizzard team just decided to go, oh, you don't, maybe it's not great, so then they did the essences thing, and now they're doing, with 8.3, they're doing the corrupted gear. And it's probably a little much for most people, right? Yeah. Can we just say that?
Yeah,
it's a little much.
It's a lot.
Maybe not for Max, but
maybe not for Max. He's not here. But actually, it probably is for him too. I'm guessing. So what would you like to see for 9.0 when it comes to gear? I mean, do you want to see War Forging and Titan Forging? Do you want to see the RNG loot system like we have now? Do you want it? Do you like that? I don't know. And maybe Shoe boots.
For me, I know a lot of people really raged against the Azerite system, and I was not one of those people. There are some reservations that I have. I was really sad to see tier sets go, and I would love to see them come back. I think for me, my biggest issue with Azerite, as much as I would prefer a simpler system, my only real issue with it was that I was spec locked. Like, I played a Warlock this expansion, and I always felt bad switching specs because I didn't have the right gear and I don't have the money to keep switching back and forth. And I really don't understand why they made that choice, because it seems like the design philosophy prior to this expansion was the opposite, right? They made tier sets so that they switch with your spec. They made It was really, and the Legion artifact system switched with your spec. I think for me, I don't hate the Warforge, the Titan Forging, but I do think it's run its course. And I do think that when I look at Classic, I do think that it might be a good time to just take a back to basics approach, have that best in slot list, go after that, especially now, because what's interesting is back in the day, there was really nothing to do but get your best in slot list. So they added all these amazing things to the game to do, and then they took away our best in slot list, whereas now, I would love a best in slot list because I'm older now. I don't have time to play every day, and I want to try my Battlegrounds, and I want to play Mythic Plus, and I want to farm that B mount or whatever. And I just wish I had I don't know. I think it's time to go back to a best in slot list, and I hope that's what they have to say tomorrow.
Sure. And Tally, I know that you play a little bit of everything. So it's not only just spec lock, it's also alt lock. I mean, like, they kind of locked out alts a little bit, right?
Yeah, with you mean like with the essences or whatnot.
Well, with just with
in
everything.
general,
I mean, it seemed like every time that you get an alt, you have to grind out the Heart of Azeroth, and you have to do all that stuff. And
yeah, it's very tedious. I mean, I wouldn't say it's. I mean, it might be the most unfriendly alt expansion we've had, but. Yeah, it's just a lot of work. You create a new character, you hit 120. Now you got to grind your neck, and you got to get all your Azerite gear.
Right.
You got to do your plus 10s on every character every week to get the residual, to get the best, get your 450 gear, and then you can't even get me started on essences. Like, it's so bad.
But is there a way? Do you think that there's a way, or what would the way be for you to move it forward in 9.0, which we're probably going to hear about tomorrow?
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I would say no Titan Forging, no War Forging. It's about time. It's about time we got rid of it already.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I want to see that kind of that player power showing in the middle of your major city. You know, like I remember if I was in the Burning Crusade, I would have the Tempest of Chaos sword from Archimonde, and it would look so cool just being like the only guy there to have it. You know, now when you walk around Borealis or the Zarlor, everyone kind of has everything. Everyone has the same gear. Like, there's really no differentiation in power with the Titan Forge Warforged system. So I kind of want to see that separation. And I'm not saying I'm like anti-casual or anything. I'm just saying I just kind of want to see, like, you know, me with, like, you know, doing my mythic rating with the most epic gear in the game and just like flaunting it in the middle of town. And I want the profession system to improve. I think a lot of our best in slot gear should come from professions, and that's something that they haven't gotten right in a long, long time. And I hope they change that tomorrow.
Okay. I think that's awesome, actually. And Raven, as a more casual raider, what kind of gear changes would work best for you and your community?
I think it's just being able to identify when something drops, whether it actually is an upgrade for you or not, without having to go and talk to our favorite Mr. Robot, who we all know and love, and we think he does a wonderful service. We're over Warforged, we're over Titanforged. It's really disappointing when you get something drop, and you're like, oh, it's an upgrade. No, it's not an upgrade because it's only Warforged, and the thing I had last week was Titanforged. It's just too confusing. It needs to be more straightforward. Like, a thing drops, is it an upgrade? Yes, no, whatever. That's cool. Get just back to basics. I'd love a best in slot list. My best in slot list was amazing.
Right. Jason, anything to add on gear stuff at all? Positive, whatever, critique?
I'm gonna be a slightly dissenting voice here and say, I think the problem with the current randomness on gear is not the fact that there is randomness, but the range is too wide. The potential between how bad or good an item could be is massive at this point. When we just had Thunder Forging and you could get a couple extra item levels, it was a cool bonus that rewarded you for investing time in the game. Yeah. And I think we could go back to a world where an item can roll Warforged and you can get 5 item levels on it, and then it's a cool bonus and you get a little bit stronger. Maybe we don't need to have systems where you need to gamble currency to try to get the perfect combination of stats and a socket, or you're going to do the same content all day long. You're in the same dungeon trying to get a loot cap socketed version of an item. The range has gotten out of control, and it kind of undermines the point of the system, which is these little moments of like spikiness and excitement. That's what they want, and what it creates is frustration because nothing you get feels good unless it's loot capped and socketed.
Right.
So let's bring the range down a little bit. And
sure.
The Azerite thing, I am sort of more on Tali's side. Maybe it's a tank thing. Because tanks have different concerns. We don't really care about throughput as much. We care about utility and about synergy. Right. And so Azerite hasn't been too punishing for me, and the playstyle of Warrior with Azerite is really fun. The problem ties back to my previous answer about artifact power, because your gradual power gain does not pay off in this expansion unless you get the drops. Whereas in Legion, you were always powering up your weapon, and sometimes you'd have the spikiness from the legendaries. That worked a little bit better. So I hope that whatever world of persistent character power progression we get, that always feels good, and that the payoff is within the system itself. And let the gear be the gear, and let our characters be our characters.
So, Tali, I don't know how much time you've spent on the PTR for 8.3, but does the new corrupted system, is that better? Or I mean, there seems to be a lot of debate about whether that's actually better than what the system that we have now. I think people are like, well, it's moving in the right direction, but I don't know if it's better.
Right. It's like a one-off too, right? It's only going to be, I think, for this patch. I mean,
sure.
I think it's kind of crazy. I tested it for like a couple of straight days, and just like you could just have fun with it if you want. Like I did a Mythic plus 10 with like 65 corruption, and it's just like a madhouse. It's like you're like spawning a pool of void under you, and you have to run out of it while you're tanking, and your healer just doesn't even know what to do. People are just taking these little ads spawn. They follow you around. They have like a tether, and then they get you and they explode, and it's a riot. But I mean, I think the not having Titan Forging and War Forging is kind of like a nice little maybe sneak peek into 9.0 that we're not going to have it anymore. And the corrupted system, I mean, it goes with the theme of the patch. I've enjoyed it so far. Hopefully they normalize it, like the number range of the corruption that you get per piece of gear. I know a lot of people are calling it just like another RNG system or whatnot. I mean, I think it takes probably a toll a lot on like high-end raiders who are going to have to put in much more work to get the gear that they need to succeed in the Mythic raiding environment, I think, than anything else.
Sure. And now we have, by the way, this is Max from Limit. So, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I was doing a meet and greet thing over. Oh, is this thing on?
You might want to just get closer and see if
Oh, shoot. Hey, can you guys hear me? Hey. Yeah, I was doing a meet and greet thing over in the last thing. We just had a weird time slot, but I'm here now. Yeah. So you mentioned something about high-end rating.
Yeah, as far as like the gearing goes and stuff like that, what do you think about the corruption system, the new one for 8.3? Do you think that that's really going to move the needle as far as where the gear system was, or is that going to be hard for you to